What is the most poisonous three-letter word? And do you want hint? Yes? The most poisonous three-letter word. And the hint is that this is something which we talked just 5 minutes before. Ego. Right. So as we talked about ego, that ego is the most poisonous thing. And I think I don't have to exaggerate on this point more. But there is one very short story which comes in Ramayana about मैं नहीं होता तो क्या होता, what if I wasn't there, about Hanuman ji. And he thinks that if अगर हनुमान जी एक पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन में नहीं होते तो क्या होता. जैसे जब हनुमान जी माता सीता के पास गए और जब रावण वहां आया, at that point of time हनुमान जी thinks अगर मैं नहीं होता तो क्या होता, अगर मैं यहाँ नहीं होता तो जब ये रावण जा रहा है, after that how could someone else tell माता सीता about Ramji is there, you don't have to worry. Then when Hanumanji goes to Ravan's courtyard at that point of time also, Hanumanji thinks कि अगर मैं नहीं होता तो क्या होता, अगर मैं नहीं होता तो रावण को कौन बता पाता कि भाई what you are doing is not right. Try कि आप ये सब ये जो झगड़ा है, ये जो war है, इसको try to delay, not delay this, try to kind of like cancel this only. But nothing happens. And also जब हनुमान जी लंका जला देते हैं, उस टाइम भी हनुमान जी सोचते हैं अगर मैं नहीं होता तो क्या होता, what if I wasn't there, अगर मैं नहीं होता तो लंका कौन जलाता. उसके बाद ये लिखा हुआ है कि it's written कि हनुमान जी बाद में सोचते हैं अगर मैं नहीं होता तो कोई और जरूर होता. Because this is something which I am not doing, this is something which is Ramji is making me do. I don't have control over anything. This is, that Katputlis which a person kind of like handles. We cannot see that person, but we can see that Katputli moving here and there. So we should always think when we are doing something nice, when we hit kind of like an achievement, we should think this in this way, that this is something which is God is making me do. This is not I am doing. Just because of their blessing, I have reached at this point, and just because of their blessings, I am doing everything finely and everything in a right way. So we should always, हमें कभी भी ये तरह से नहीं सोचना चाहिए. कई बार हो जाता है कि इस सिचुएशन में हम कभी-कभी सोचते हैं कि what if कि अगर मैं नहीं होता तो क्या होता. तो हमेशा हमें याद रखना अगर आप नहीं होते तो कोई और जरूर होता, और अगर भगवान जी को किसी से कोई काम करवाना होता है वो करवा ही लेते हैं. If we are doing something good, if we are kind of like we are able to give something to charity, this is not we are doing, this is something which is God making us do. So if we always keep this small point in our mind, जो ego है वो हमारे पास भी नहीं आएगा. This point is kind of like a Lakshman Rekha for us, which would always protect us from being very egoistic person. Okay? Most used 4-letter word. Love. Well, it was quite fast, but it's right. So, love is the 4. Yeah.
No, continue.
I
did my homework before coming in.
So love is the 4 most used word, and we should try to always love others. Like when Ramji got to know about 14 years of exile, and he had a choice to hate Mata Kaikai, but he didn't. When Mata Kaikai and everyone came to meet Ramji, when Ramji was in exile only, at that point of time, firstly Ramji went to Mata Kaikai, and firstly he touched Mata Kaikai's feet. So Ramji always teaches us to love, not to hate. So we should always try to love others, even that person is not loving us. We should always have right perception of other persons, even if that person is not thinking quite rightly about us. So this is something which we can learn from Ramji, that always love others. And it doesn't matter how that person is. Ramji spoke quite rightly to that keyword. Right? also to Mata Shabri. So all this racism, caste, and everything. Beyond everything, there is one thing which is love, and this is something we should focus on.
रही हो कि वो आदमी ही ऐसा है, आप उससे कैसे मतलब आप उसको प्यार कर सकते
ना ना, आपने प्यार नहीं करना है तो आपने उनके बारे में खराब भी नहीं सोचना है. If you can't love someone,
नहीं सोच रहा हूँ कि दुनिया भर के
अब तो ऐसे ये जीवन है, चलता रहता है. We have a very
That's what I wanted to say. That's
yeah,
right.
we have a very short period of time. You know, we don't have very long. We don't have 200 years to live. So we should try कि जितना भी हमें टाइम मिला है उसमें हम लोगों के साथ अच्छे से ही बात करें, भले ही वो कितने खराब क्यों ना. और वैसे हमें कोई टाइम तो मिलेगा नहीं केजरीवाल जी से बात करने का. पर हमें बस अगर हम उनके बारे में कुछ, अगर आप किसी के बारे में कुछ अच्छा नहीं बोल सकते तो खराब भी नहीं बोलना चाहिए. It's just a very small thing. Yeah. When Ramji was in a forest for exile for 14 years and he got to know what that Mata Sita is abducted. So at that point of time he had two choices. He could sit there and kind of like cry and he would be like, why life is so unfair to me? No. He thought of doing that, what can I do? Now I need a Sena, now I need an army to find Mata Sita. But he didn't have any kind of army. You know, his whole army was in Ayodhya. So Ramji thought, why not to have like Vanar Sena and all of that in our army. So this is something which kind of like teaches us to use resources. What resources you have, you should try to use it. Ramji was in forest. He could not call his army, you know, from Ayodhya. So he didn't sit there and he was like, oh, I don't have anyone, what can I do? Let it be. No. He thought that I have limited resources. I can use that limited resources only. But now, how can I use that resources? What that resource could be. So he made that whole Vanar Sena. So this is something which
human beings, they were taken all the gold away from Lanka. So he had to take the monkey, so the monkey leaves the gold there.
well, it's quite right. I mean, you can speak on my
No, I'm just saying, we must love all, serve all, hate none. That was a good idea.
Right.
But when you mentioned about why Lord Rama didn't call his army,
Yeah.
but you have to remember, I read it somewhere,
Okay.
that Lanka was built with gold.
Right.
And if he
Right.
has taken the human being to Lanka, he would taken all the gold away, they would be once you won't take the gold.
This is something, you know, yeah, it's quite right, but this is something that if imagine I have a page and I have written 9 on it, but if I turn that page upside down, so it could be 6, you know? So it's kind of like the way you think to a situation, you can also think to that particular situation in that way also, that if Ramji had taken his army from Ayodhya, which are human beings, they could have taken all that gold. So this is kind of, well, it's quite right, but it's
That was a subject. I don't think the people would have thought in that way, like, okay, they should take the gold and
Well, it was-
in Kali Yuga. I don't think Satyug was a really good era of the. You can say in the 4 eras, but that's the best Yug, Satyug. So maybe,
well, it was Treta
Oh, yeah,
Yuga. So
Treta.
Satyug was the
yeah,
purest.
yeah.
Satyug was the purest,
Yes.
then Treta, then Dwapar, and then Kalyug. So, see, we don't know about people. People could change. So, I think I quite agree with you, sir. So, I mean, you are saying also it's right, but I mean, this is all about perception, about the thing you see, like 9, 6, you know. So, I think it's quite right. So, what I was trying to make a point out of here, that I was just trying to say that we should try to use as many resources as we have. We should not sit and cry that, oh, I don't have resource, I can do nothing, and all of that. You know, we should try and utilize the resources, the things which we have around ourselves. Now, see, I'm in 10th grade, and when my chemistry teacher, she kind of like explained me something. Then I don't kind of like understand at that point of time, because it's just reactions. If magnesium kind of like react with oxygen, what would happen? But when she kind of like do that with chemicals, it's quite right. It's quite clear. So that's what I'm going to do over here. Well, I don't have chemicals, but I have glasses over here to to make you understand. So I would like to have 4 people over here, maybe 2 females, 2 males. Right, so you see a glass, what do you see in it? Sorry.
Some water.
Water, but also kind of like half filled
Half full.
or half empty.
Empty, yes. Depends which way you think
Yeah,
about.
yeah. So, I mean, we only had heard about 2 things. Maybe a glass could be half full, maybe it could be half empty.
Yes.
So let's imagine that uncle is saying that this glass is half full. But auntie is saying that no, this glass is half empty. Okay? So the first perception is glass is half
Full.
Okay? First is about glass is half.
Full.
Second is about glass is half
Empty.
empty. Well, third uncle, you are kind of like Jugadu Indian. So, so what do you think? What uncles you would say?
It's full.
It's full.
Full.
How?
It's enough.
It's enough. Okay. Anything else? Well, as I said about Jugadu Indians, uncle would say that this glass is neither full, neither empty. This is half filled with water and half filled with air.
Exactly.
Right? So first is saying half full, half empty, half filled with water, half with air. But the fourth person is quite optimistic. What that fourth person would say? Auntie is quite optimistic. So what auntie would say? I can fill it up. Okay.
Or it's enough for me.
It is enough for me.
It's enough for me. Auntie is saying that जो प्राप्त है वही पर्याप्त है. If kind of like push it a little bit more, so water would spill. So you can have the water now. Yeah, if you would like to have. So yeah.
You don't need this glass anymore?
No. Okay, this is something which I just wanted to make sure to kind of like make you all understand about resources. Auntie is like that. I don't need more resources. What so I have in my hand right now is
enough.
more than enough I could ever ask for.
Yes.
But it is also said somewhere, water everywhere, not a drop of drink.
The ocean.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good.
पहले एक बार जोरदार था.
Glass? Don't want it?
No, I just wanted this for myself.
Oh, my God. Thank you. Very good water.
पहले मतलब यहाँ पे जो 4 लोग एक बार जोरदार तालियां उनके लिए because it takes a lot of courage to kind of like just stand from the seat only and also क्योंकि बहुत डर लगता है ना तो इसलिए it was really nice. So I mean we all have this point clear in our mind that what so resources we have to use it and जो प्राप्त है वही. As I said, I have problem in my ears. So जो प्राप्त है वही पर्याप्त है. So what so we have is more than enough we could ever ask for in our lifetime. So yeah, this is something which we can learn from Ramayana. I mean, every small thing in your life you can learn from Ramayana. How? Let me give you an example. There was a train station and over there was 2 couples sitting. One was quite old and second were quite young. So that old uncle was reading a book and the book was Ramayana. So that young boy said, "Hey, why are you reading Ramayana? It's quite kind of like old. Why don't you read some writers which are kind of like New York bestsellers? Ramayana is not New York bestseller, so why are you reading this?" So that uncle really didn't reply much. He was like, okay. So the train came, everyone sat on that train. The second that train started, that young boy yelled and he was screaming and screaming. So that old uncle went like, "Hey, why you're screaming like this? So that boy replied, I left my wife on train station only. So that uncle pulled that chain, the train stopped, his wife came on board, and then when everything was quite calm and peaceful, that old uncle approached and said that if you had read Ramayana, you wouldn't have made this kind of mistake. That boy was, how? Where in Ramayana it's written about this? So that old uncle was quite an observant. He used to observe things very deeply. And he said that when so Ramji used to sit on his chariot, firstly he used to let Mata Sita sit on that chariot, and then he used to sit. So, okay, so the meaning of this thing is that if you would have read Ramayana, you know that firstly you should let your wife sit on the train, and then you would have on board on that train. So this is very small incident, but this teaches us that